Hello and welcome to December. My name is Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. You can find out more about at unifiedmindfulness.com. I am many things, which includes now a podcast co-host if you're into Star Wars things. But I am not a licensed mental health professional, therapist, any of those things. So what we usually do in the afternoon idle is not a whole lot, but what we are usually doing is comparing a particular mindfulness meditation technique with doing nothing. So these are what we can refer to as sits. We're contrasting techniques. So we're contrasting applying some amount of effort, focusing on a particular range of experience, and then doing that in a particular way with an effortless approach. And in that effortless approach, sometimes the same experience and like rest being an example, that rest is available to us when we're not doing anything at all. We can create that rest also through techniques, but in this effortlessness, sort of choiceless awareness mode that we can go into when we do nothing, we can also sort of have some of these natural experiences that are created through the use of techniques. So that's another way of putting it, I guess, how we normally do stuff. Maybe that's more resonant with folks, or maybe it's more confusing. I appreciate my solitary live viewer. So there was at least one or two requests to continue to do this into December, and so here we are, minus the mustache. And yeah, so today I'm gonna repeat techniques just for kind of giggles. I'm going to go ahead and do feel rest again, just because that's a bit of what I'm looking for. I've had kind of a not an overactive morning, but it's rest is a good pairing for where I want to sort of be. So I'm going to go ahead and do feel rest again. So if you're new to meditation, or you're new to the Unified Mindfulness System, the system has these three categories that are abstractions for how we can begin to sort of sort and classify what we have in coming up for us in sensory experience. So see, hear, feel, the three categories. So see is for both mental imagery that we may or may not see, depending on that mental imagery may be less vivid or more vivid for you. There is a spectrum of mental imagery, just as an aside. And then actual vision, external sort of see out in lingo. And then here is the auditory range, or also mental talk. And then feel is external body sensations and emotional body sensations. And then in the external body sensations, we lump in smell and taste in there as well. So that those three categories give us a way of being able to meet any experience that comes up while we're sitting in meditation or when we're off the cushion. So those three categories help in practice in motion. So as an aside, we won't do a whole lot of practice in motion when we're idling, but that's something that you can do. You can do the see, hear, feel technique, or you can do feel, or see out, hear out while you're walking. So you can do that in motion as well. So, so like I said, we're going to do feel rest again today. So we did feel rest yesterday. So in this case, we feel rest will include either emotional body or external body sensations, physical body sensations, or emotional body sensations, either of those two. And the rest, the label rest, when we're following rest, what we're acknowledging is activation in feel that is either reduced significantly or is absent altogether. So we may have a restful sensation that appears around somewhere where we've been moving, or so as we stretch up and settle in, I mentioned, You may have a restful sensation or access, or may find rest available in muscles around that. So we use rest as a way to label that significant reduction or just an absence of that altogether. If rest isn't available, we'll go ahead and use the label feel. And then about halfway through the 15-minute sit, we'll transition to the do nothing portion. Just a quick update, or if you haven't been on here before, when we do nothing, we're in essence letting whatever happens happen. And then if we happen to notice that we're trying to control or orchestrate our attention to focus on different things, we let it go. So that doesn't mean that we're monitoring for that, because then we're doing something. We're monitoring for the intention to control our attention. So we're sort of in this situation, we let whatever happens. And then if you, in essence, notice that you're trying to focus on your breath, or you're focusing on sounds around you, you let that go. If you've done that maybe once or twice or maybe 3 times, then you can consider that to be part of letting whatever happens happen. So the body and your consciousness, your nervous system is decided to go ahead and focus on that. So you're not really intentionally making that choice. So I'll pause briefly here. If you have any questions, I can offer responses before we begin. Just really quick, pulling up my timer. So okay, so we'll go ahead and begin. Invite the bell. So if it's comfortable to do so, I invite you to adopt a posture that is upright, dignified, one that will help you to be both relaxed and alert. And checking in to see if there's any tension in the body. And over time, as you practice more mindfulness, you may know your areas that you tend to hold tension. So maybe that's around the jaw or the neck or the shoulders, perhaps the eyes or the forehead. And often when we notice the tension, it almost spontaneously releases. If it doesn't, then it's an opportunity to offer a kind of a no big deal. So we won't make a problem out of that. And then as we settle into the posture, do a few deliberate calming breaths. Again, to borrow from the Beastie Boys, slow and low is the tempo. So breathing in slowly through the nose, exhaling deliberately slowly through the nose or through pursed lips. And then slowing down our breath, we begin to breathe lower into the lungs. Helps us settle into the posture. And for some folks, just being still in this way at this point, that's their practice. It's a very minimal practice, but it's a complete path. It's a complete path. So you can flag this as a waypoint. You can always return to this spot. And for me, just going through that simple checklist is enough to begin to generate a bit of rest in the body for me. Again, your experience may vary, so it's totally fine. But if rest is available, we notice that, soak the attention in, and then optionally label rest. And sometimes as soon as we find rest, it'll almost evaporate or dissipate. That's okay too. Again, that's an opportunity for us to flex our inner smoothness muscle, the muscle of equanimity. And if rest isn't available, we would just go ahead and allow the attention to remain within the body and notice whatever is within that range. And labeling to help support the attention. So I'll leave you to explore, feel rest. So if you haven't been able to contact any rest in the time that we have with this technique, you may explore tensing the shoulders and then relaxing them down, letting them fall down, or Shinzen's prompt, the beginning of a sit, he says to stretch up and settle in. So as we stretch up and settle in, there's often a restful sensation in the torso after that. Or extending the legs and flexing the feet, holding that and then releasing. So at the beginning with this technique, you may only find a glimmer of rest here and there, maybe as elusive, but over time, the nervous system begins to notice as we look for it. We start to find it more often. Good. So we'll let go of that technique. Actually, we'll let go of all technique. And we'll shift into this open, free range stance of doing nothing. And as we sort of use the technique of no technique, see if there's any of the rest that lingers from before. Again, allowing whatever happens to happen, not adding or subtracting or any of that, just letting it be. So when we adopt this open stance and allow our attention to roam where it wants, we may end up making grocery lists or plotting our comeback. Whatever it might be. all of those things fall under whatever. So again, when we're doing nothing, we're letting whatever happens happen. We're dropping any intention to control where our attention is going or what it is doing. And if we notice that we've spontaneously started doing something, we let go of that and opt out of chastising ourselves or any of that. So I invite you to reconnect to your surroundings. If you have any questions, you can offer responses. If you have any reports, I would love to hear them. Or if you don't feel like doing any of those things, then that may also be the sign of a successful sit. I'm glad you could join, Sarah, even if it was a little bit late. All right. Well, thank you so much for practicing with me today, or to those watching in the future. I know that we pick up a few views here and there after the live stream, so appreciate that. Awesome. So that's definitely a great way to sit, Jill, to be able to sit outside. I've only done one retreat where I've sat outdoors, and it was really quite special. So, well, if you miss the mustache, I will say that you're in a small but loyal few. I can tell you that those close to me do not miss the mustache. I definitely feel less of a child of the 80s or 70s now, though. So, well, thanks for everyone spending some time with me. And again, we're going to keep doing this in December. Since you're here, Jill, I was experimenting with switching up the contrasts. So I'm thinking about either tomorrow or Thursday we'll settle in, do nothing, and then shift to a technique, just to play around with that. So that I sort of interpret that as a request, but yeah. So if you do have requests, or there's a technique that you are interested in or something along those lines, you can always share those with me. You can share them in the comments here. It'd be nice to have comments that aren't from Russian bots or bots of Cyrillic origin. not to cast any aspersion on the fine folks in Russia, but so we can do that. Comments below, or you can always reach out to Instagram. Would be another thing. So okay, so we'll do that Thursday. So my Instagram handle is my last name. That's Leonard as in David, S as in Sam. So Leonards. So yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and reach out on Instagram as well. So it'd be nice to have someone reach out on Instagram that wasn't a cryptocurrency investor. So all right, have a good Tuesday.